right, boys. One day away from Turkey Day.
Yes.
Really excited about it. I will say, today is the first time in 50 days that we don't have any college football on. But
What? No college football?
But, David, before you panic, some pretty good college basketball
I did see that.
on today. You've got Tennessee and Kansas.
Yep.
You've got Purdue and Marquette.
Gonzaga, UCLA.
Gonzaga, UCLA. There's some really tasty matchups as we kind of get into college basketball. Do you just jump right in to college basketball or do you have to ease yourself into it? I just jump right in.
So you've already been watching?
Oh yeah.
I think I've watched like 3 games so far.
Yeah. I watched Tennessee. I've watched Arkansas. Obviously watched Auburn, Baylor. You know, I watched Purdue and the monster that they have down those.
It's tough because I'm like, okay, it's football season. We wait all year for football season. We want it. When we have a stretch of 50 straight games, that's what I need to be dedicating my time to. And I always think basketball games don't matter before Christmas. I don't count them.
They really
But
don't.
then I'm sitting there watching the other night. I'm watching Kansas play. Hunter Dickinson's having 27-21. My heart's breaking a little bit because he's not at Michigan anymore.
But then
I find myself watching the game, and I'm like, man, it's going to be March before you know it. I need to go ahead and get ready now to fill out my bracket.
Well, it's like I tell my wife that she's always like, hey, well, these, foods at dinner, they need to kind of like match up, like choreograph them, like this goes with this. I'm like, no. I don't care like what type of food. I just want to put the food I like on the plate.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care
that.
this matches with this. Like, this isn't the living room.
You match your food over there?
No, I just go eat. Doesn't matter. I don't even use silverware. I just go eat it with my hands.
And I wonder, she's also the first person I've ever seen, and obviously I love my wife to death, that eats one part of her food at a time.
People do that.
I do that.
That's a thing? People really do
People
that?
do that. They'll eat all the beans, then they'll eat all the steak, then they'll eat all the... Not me.
Not me.
Yeah.
No, at the end of the day,
They
my
call that
plate ends up
OCD,
becoming pretty
right?
much one thing anyway.
Don't they call that OCD?
I
I'm
don't have
OCD, but I don't do that.
I call it Eat CD. Washington moves ahead of Florida State in the latest college football playoff rankings. Tom Brady says there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL, and we're previewing this weekend's Iron Bowl matchup between Auburn and Alabama, and much, much more. I'm Jake Crane, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Crane and Company. Now, we can sit here all day and debate which rivalry is the best overall in college football, whether you believe it's, the game, Michigan, Ohio State, the Iron Bowl, Auburn, Alabama, Army, Navy, South Carolina, Clemson. I can go down the list. But there's one category that goes into that debate that I believe I have a logical and rational explanation on why it is the most vitriolic and filled with the most hate. And that's the Iron Bowl. And it's for this reason. And I know the Toledo War fought between Michigan and Ohio over the Toledo territory was a big deal back in the 1700s. We all remember how big of a deal it was. But at the end of the day, with Michigan and Ohio State, it's one thing to get in a fight with your neighbor. You go back to your house, they go back to their house. It's another thing, like it is in the Iron Bowl, to get in a fight with your brother. You don't get to go to separate houses. Not only do you go to the same house, in most cases, you go to the same room. You can't escape it. You go to church with these people. You go to work with these people. You go to school with these people. You are literally surrounded by it 24/7, and there's 364 days of bragging rights that you get between Auburn and Alabama in one state, in one area. Now, within hate, there's also respect. You don't see fights pregame in Auburn, Alabama. Why? Most of these guys grew up playing against each other. They know each other. They were brothers. Hell, some of them were even on the same team. And I know you see that in other rivalries from teams that are in different states, but you see it more from the in-state rivalries. And at the end of the day, it's one thing to fight your neighbor. It's another to fight your brother. And that's why the Iron Bowl, to me, is the most hate-filled rivalry. David Cone.
Yeah, who your face, David?
Yeah, David. He's back here, David.
It sucks. The game sucks, dude.
David, you suck, David. Look, there's a lot of the implications from Michigan, Ohio State have been way higher lately than they have been in Auburn, Alabama. And there's a lot of different, caveats or areas that make the greatest rivalry. We can have that debate. I still think it's the Iron Bowl. You're going to think it's the game. But when it comes down to hate, pure hate, I know one school got upset that a Cam Newton jersey was put on a statue and a guy went and almost poisoned the water supply of the other city, and he celebrated.
They put that scam
on social media still. It just, to me, it's the greatest rivalry in sports. Obviously, I'm biased. I grew up in it.
I love that we're even talking about it because it means it's that week. I've always found the thought experiment of, what type of rivalry is harsher? The one where you share like a common, district with someone, whether it be a state or in-city rivalry, or when you draw a line in the sand. See, to me, when you're talking about brother and you have to be around your brother and you have to go to the same house with them and share the same house, at the end of the day, that's still your brother, though. And you can hate them and fight with them more than your neighbor, but you still love your brother. He's sitting right there. Look at him. Tell him how much you love him. Your neighbor, though, there's no level of hatred that is deep enough that you could feel for your neighbor because you draw that line in the sand and you say, hey, that's your property. This is my property. And we're never going to get over it.
But you can't escape it, though. You can be like, guess what? I'm just not talking to that neighbor anymore. I'm not going down there. Guess what? I wake up and walk out of I wake up, oh no, I'm in a bunk bed. Guess who's above me? The person I hate.
Or I meant Mike Ditka, not Dick Buckus. But it's Mike Ditka next door and kicking and screaming.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we did the live stream from your neighbor's house.
That is my neighbor, Brandon neighbor Brian. Here's all I'll say, though. I'm just really glad that finally that the Michigan-Ohio rivalry has returned to national prominence in a way that it has implications for the postseason. Because when you and I met, and we've been talking about this for years, that's why we're having fun right now. I think there's still videos of us online having these arguments when we first met. But look, when we met, the Buckeyes had won 8 straight over the Wolverines. And then what's even worse than losing to me is when Michigan didn't even go play the game in the COVID year. Now, look, it was a crazy time for all of us. Everyone was nervous about this thing. The whole world was changing right before our eyes. Football took a back seat for a lot of people. But to me, you figure out a way to play that game, right? Because so much of what makes a great rivalry is the historicity of it. You have to have the traditional elements of it. Then also, it's great when both teams are competitive, at least every now and then. So my question to you is, if this thing slides off the rail in the Iron Bowl and Nick Saban's able to win the last 4 or 5, right, as he sunsets into retirement, and the Michigan-Ohio game continues to be this top 5 matchup, which we've seen for the last 3 years. How much does the arc need to continue for the rivalry to change?
Well, I think you make the point when you're talking about Michigan-Ohio State that you can't judge a rivalry by just a decade when it goes back this long. I go back and I tell people this. I grew up when Auburn beat Alabama 6 times in a row. It was like fear the thumb. So it's all cyclical, right? You have. It's funny, Nick Saban takes over at Alabama, loses to La Monroe, and then starts this dynastical run that we've seen at Alabama. So if Auburn were to drop 3, 4, 5 in a row, something like that, obviously you panic. Somebody's getting fired, but eventually it's going to come back around. But looking at this year's matchup, this Hugh Freeze team, this is going to be the biggest talent deficit that he faces in the Iron Bowl going up against Nick Saban or whoever's thereafter, because it is year one. But there's still the craziness of Jordan Hare. There's still 18 to 22-year-olds. You still have some inexperienced guys that are going to be playing in the game. Not that we're on the sidelines during the game, but actually playing in the game for Alabama and obviously Auburn. And, that 14.5 number is a really big number. Auburn's going to have to catch some breaks. Really, when you look at it, and Blaine, I'll throw the same question to you. For Auburn to win this game, David, what do they have to do? What has to happen?
A little bit of everything right. No one has been able to make a young Carson Beck, well, I say young, a new starting quarterback, Carson Beck, panic in the pocket. No one's been able to do that. Even when he doesn't have the security blanket of Brock Bowers, he's able to find his receivers. He has great protection up front. No one's been able to do him. I think you have to turn him over and maybe then also get some sort of special teams play. Maybe you can, get a big punt return, kick return, or a block punt, block kick, something like that, win in the special teams area. And then also on the offensive side, can you run the ball effectively like you did against against Georgia with this, this side-to-side speed sweep, but then, take advantage up the middle as well and keep chewing the clock so that Georgia doesn't have the football, because for the first time in a couple years,
you talking about Georgia or Bama?
I'm talking about. What'd you ask me?
I was asking you, what does Auburn have to do to beat Alabama?
Yeah. I'm saying like they did.
Like they did. Okay, gotcha. I didn't hear
so remember what they did with the speed sweeps and then runs up the middle against Georgia in Jordan-Hare. You got to figure out a way to do that against Alabama also. And to me, it's like it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at it, you're going to have to catch some breaks, and you hope you lean on the home crowd. And Alabama, you've seen it. I think it always starts and stops with stopping the run, if that makes sense. There's been points through the year where Alabama's run game has been stopped, and Jalen Milroe, even in predictable pass downs, has been able to either scramble his way or get outside the pocket or find somebody down the field. If you're Auburn, you have got to get them in predictable passing downs, third and 6 and above, 3rd and 5 and above in some situations, and you have to somehow find a way to mix it up enough to keep Jalen Milroe from killing you on the ground, because now this offense is tailored around what Jalen Milroe does best. They will get him on the move. He will take off. There will be quarterback design runs. They're not afraid to run quarterback draw. He's not going to hang in the pocket like he did the first half of the year and let less talented athletes be able to bring him down because the space and the gaps are collapsing. But I don't think Auburn needs to come out and run 85,000 trick plays. Right? You need to have your motions. You need to have the quarterback run game. You can have some trick plays, but the more you do that, it's almost like blitzing. You risk a disaster happening, and you have to have a feel of the game, right? You may see a fake punt. You may see a surprise onside kick. But Auburn's goal should be to be able to be close enough in the fourth quarter to have an opportunity. But I just feel like, Blaine, when you look at this talent gap, even if everything goes right for Auburn, it's still going to be tough. What wide receiver from Auburn is going to make a play against these Alabama DBs? Which Peyton Thorne's going to show up? Is Auburn going to be able to run the ball against a really talented front seven? There's just a lot of things that have to go right in this game.
I have some eligibility left. If I have to strap up Saturday, I will. I'm more of a possession guy myself. I'm not a blazing 40 guy, but if you throw it my way, there's probably a 65% chance I'll catch it. The good thing that the Auburn can do in this game is somehow find a way to get in the red zone. I know you played against a New Mexico State team where you didn't one time, but Saturday can be a little different. I think Jarquez Hunter can have a big day. I really do. I think if anything, you need to work backwards a little bit. If you're Hugh Freeze, you have to do the opposite, what people think are predictable downs. You just can't run it on first down 80% of the time and think you're going to end up in the 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 5. I don't think that's going to happen. I feel like Peyton Thorne's going to have his best game of his career. I really do. I think you need to live in the motion. You brought that up from the Georgia game. You move as many pieces pre-snap to give all the help Peyton Thorne can get. I think you live in the screen game on offense. I think on defense, you're not going to get to Jalen Milroe. All right, you're just not. All right, and even if you get there, I don't think you can get him down. I would rather you just stay gap correct when you rush the passer. Do not rush past the passer and make Jalen not. You notice Jalen's been throwing the ball well, but he's had mostly open receivers down the field throwing the ball. Make Jalen Milroe hit tight passes, tight window passes, right? Maybe you can get D lineman to tip the ball. You got to win the turnover battle. You got to win the special teams battle. You got to find out where they're eating pregame too. All right, find out where they're eating pregame. All right, maybe slip something in there. Maybe get half of them out. We'll see. Prayers. Well, we'll see how.
Well, I think defensively, you're just gonna have to give Jalen Milroe a whole buffet. You can't just give him one thing. You can't just sit there and pressure him the whole game, or he's gonna kill you. You can't rush 3 the whole game, or he's gonna kill you. You got to show things in similar looks and bring it. You got to show it and bluff it. You've got to continue to mix it up to try and confuse him, because he has shown the ability, I guess you'd say, to try and force the ball in there or float one over the middle. Auburn's been pretty opportunistic defensively when it comes to turnovers. You're gonna need a couple of those and probably a big special teams play. But we want to know what you think. What does Alabama need to do? What does Auburn need to do? We're going to open the phone lines up here at 7:15 a.m. Central.
One more thing here, too.
a.m. Eastern. Go ahead.
Mentally moved on to Georgia because I have the college football playoff ranking in front of me. But one thing I said yesterday, you can't overrush Milroe either.
Can't do
it. That's one of the biggest things, because like what Blaine's saying, if you're not going to get to Jalen Milroe, you at least can't overrush him to open up those lanes. Now, I don't know if that equals spying more often than you usually would, or if you're just, peeling back from the defensive end perspective. But one way or another, you just can't let him run through open gaps when that first read's not there.
You can't let him escape through the middle of the pocket. You can't. You have to force him to the edge because at least you can get some chase. And like that's when mistakes happen. Maybe you try to force the ball, throw him behind your body across field. Like you just can't. If he escapes through the pocket, you're in trouble.
Well, and if you do bring pressure and you're able to get to him, you have got to get him to the ground. You cannot miss a tackle in the pocket, let him shake it against a blitz when everybody else is in man, and then all of a sudden he's gone down the field because Jalen Morrell scored from 80 out. Like he's not a guy that's just going to rumble for 15. You know, KJ Jefferson, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, big guy. He's going to take off and go score. We've seen it multiple times. But we want to know what you guys think. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that like button as well. But if you're betting on the game, we're going to go over locks, leans, and dogs today. I've been very successful on those. But if you're somebody that bets on sports, whether it's college football, NFL, college basketball, Quidditch, hell, a sport that I don't even know exists, they're going to have it over at DraftKings Sportsbook. And look, there's so much to be thankful for this time of year. Family, friends, food, football. We've got NFL all week long. And DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping your Thanksgiving week full of action because new customers can bet just $5 on the NFL action to score $150 instantly in bonus bets with our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER. DraftKings, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Go download it if you haven't already. Use that code BOOSTER, booster, with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Like I said, every odd line that we're going to read comes straight from DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm going to get to that in a second. Payouts are quick. It's unbelievably easy to navigate, and it's our go-to. Obviously, it's our favorite one. So go download it. Use that promo code BOOSTER, BOOSTER. And also, while you are on the internet machine, we're going to put our link for our new hoodie. Helps out the show a ton. When you guys buy the merch, we really appreciate it. We've sold a lot of these already. It's our Booster Club hoodie that we're releasing. You can wear it really in all seasons. It's not too heavy. It's not too light. It's kind of perfect. It's like that Goldilocks porridge. It's just right. So we're going to put the link to go buy that in the chat and in the description as well. And we appreciate it, you guys. But we got the college football playoff rankings that came out last night. Let's go ahead and go over those, David.
All right, Georgia, Ohio, Michigan stays the same at the top three, but Washington jumps Florida State 4 or 5. We were talking about the possibility of this after Jordan Travis went down. Is this a bad sign for Florida State?
No, because it's going to work itself out. I mean, just look ahead of them. You're sitting there at 5. 2 and 3 play each other. I'm not a genius or a scientist, but I know that one of them is going to lose. And if you have an undefeated Florida State team, they will move up, in my opinion, to that 4th spot if they go undefeated. Now, will they go undefeated with Tate Rodemaker at quarterback and Jordan Travis out? I don't know. But I've got no problem with this because I do believe when you look right now at Washington's schedule and you look at Florida State's, you can make a good argument for moving Washington, who is also undefeated, over Florida State. You want to know another reason why I don't have a problem with this? Because it doesn't contradict anything, and both these teams are kind of operating on even ground. So you can look and sit here and say, you know what? This team is undefeated. This team is undefeated. Their trajectory looks a little bit better. It's like this Texas-Alabama debate. People are like, well, Alabama's playing better than Texas right now, but Texas beat Alabama on the road. If everything's even at the end of the year, Texas should get in the playoff. Washington is not going to play Florida State. So I can look here and say, all right, the head-to-head is not there. Now we get into the nitty-gritty because it's not that easy to just sit here and say, all right, this team lost to that team. To me, I am totally fine with this. I've got absolutely no problem with it. I kind of felt like it was coming. Where it's going to get interesting is when I'm looking at Oregon at 6 and Texas at 7. Obviously, one of Ohio State or Michigan's going to lose. So let's say Ohio State loses, right? Then let's say Florida State loses and Oregon beats Washington. So then you've got Washington and Oregon with the exact same record. They're 1-1 in the head-to-head. That's where it gets wonky. Do you put, if it comes down to Washington or Oregon for that 4th spot, right, or to get in, where are you going?
So are you talking about even before the SEC championship game gets
No,
played?
I'm saying when it's done. Let's say Georgia wins. All right, let's say Michigan wins. So you got Georgia 1, Michigan 2.
Their conferences.
Okay. Right? Let's say Florida State loses, okay, one of these next 2 games, and Oregon beats Washington, and Texas finishes out with 1 loss, and obviously Alabama would have 2 if they lost to Georgia. Who do you put in? Do you put in Oregon, or do you put in Washington? Because I don't think the Pac-12 is getting 2 in.
Put in Oregon.
I think you have to take who won the conference.
Yeah.
In this scenario.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I
And
agree
Oregon
with
lost
that.
on the road.
So it'd be Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and Texas in that scenario.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. But see, that to me is you can make a much more rational argument on why to put Oregon in over Washington than you could to put, let's say, a one-loss Texas or put a one-loss Alabama if they were to beat Georgia, even over a one-loss Texas after having beat the number one team. That's where it's going to get wonky to me, Glenn.
Yeah, but I mean, what really gets me excited is 9 and 10. Like, we can talk about the top 5, but look at Drink and Brom. Who would have thought before the season, boys? Before the season, we'd be sitting here talking about Missouri at 9.
I know.
At 9. And Brom as first year at Louisville at 10. But still, I know we can say the right thing to do for the committee is, to put Texas in if they win their conference. If Bama wins out, I bet they put Bama in.
Over Texas.
I bet they put Bama.
There's no way.
I bet they do.
There's absolutely no way because
I bet
you're
they
saying,
do.
I would bet you $1,000 they don't.
Would they put them in over Oregon with one loss?
That's a different story. See, to me, that's a totally different situation. Because Texas went to Alabama. If we live in a world where each team, two teams finished with an identical record, one team went 2 on the road and beat the other by 10 points, and you don't put them in because the other team's playing better at the end of the year, it's screwed. It's over with. It's over with. It's shot. It's fixed. Because now you're saying the regular season really doesn't matter. These people that want to cry about, expanding the playoffs is going to water down the regular season. You want to know what waters down the regular season? When head-to-head doesn't matter. Wins and losses in September, especially in college football. It matters in college basketball with the RPI, but not as much because you play way more games, right? And you can automatically get in if you win your conference. In college football, you get 12 guaranteed opportunities. I don't care if that win is in September. I don't care if that win is in November. If you're going to tell me that head-to-head doesn't matter, then we're screwed. And the regular season doesn't matter anymore. And that's what's going to ruin college football. Because if I'm a team, I'm not scheduling anybody that's any good out of conference ever again. Ever again, because it doesn't matter. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And if they do that, it's an absolute joke and it's a travesty. And it's got nothing to do with the Auburn fan, Alabama fan. It doesn't matter. Y'all play each other. Not only that, you played them at home and they beat your ass. And that should matter.
You have to think we're in for some chaos the next week, rivalry week and conference championship week. There's not going to be some sort of chaos?
I mean, obviously there's going to be chaos, but I mean, I'm just saying, we're just giving out situations. I mean, that's what I was doing. I mean, the only thing I'll say is this. Texas lost to Oklahoma, and they had Texas above Oklahoma. Doesn't matter if it's going to work itself out, okay? It matters what is going on in that week. There was no reason. Why was Texas in front of Oklahoma?
What do you mean it doesn't matter if it's going to work itself out?
Why was Texas?
I'm talking about
why was Texas in front of Oklahoma?
Listen, all this stuff, I'm talking about the last week, the last ranking. The one that matters the most is the last ranking. Just like when it comes down to college basketball, determining who gets in the NCAA tournament with the RPI and all that stuff, whatever 19 metrics they use now. It's a TV show before the last week. That's what it is. They contradict themselves all the time. There's no true criteria. The last one matters the most. I'm not talking about the first week the rankings come out. They can put whoever they want to put wherever they want. They know Ohio State's going to play Michigan, right? They know that Texas and Oklahoma are going to have to play again in the Big 12 championship if everything goes perfect, so you can afford to do it. What I'm talking about is the last ranking. You can't compare when the first ranking comes out to the last ranking because they carry way different weight. Way different weight.
So there's no criteria, and it doesn't matter until the last week.
Yes.
Well, at some point, it's mathematically impossible to organize the teams, right? Because if you have I can't remember exactly how that very first poll went, but when you have Alabama with one loss who lost to Texas, and you have Oklahoma with one loss, or Texas with one loss who had lost to Texas, and then Oklahoma at that point, I think, had lost to Kansas, right? That was their first loss. You start to create a triangle, or even bigger than that, where it's it's kind of like we're seeing in some of these conferences right now, where it's a 3-way tie or a 4-way tie. It's like, how do you put one team above another, even though they lost the head-to-head, but they've also beaten someone else who's behind them? And so it creates an impossible scenario.
Yeah, but again, there's such a big difference in where Texas and Oklahoma would be ranked before because they're both in the same conference, and if they both win out, they would play each other again. So either way, it's going to make you right. Alabama and Texas aren't playing each other again. That game has been played. So if you're going to put a team ahead of another team, right, that lost the head-to-head, if they're not going to play each other again, that's a problem. But if everything worked out for Texas and Oklahoma, they would play each other again, just like Oregon and Washington. If they would have put Oregon in front of Washington, we know that if everything works out, Oregon would play Washington again, and if one of them lose before that, it would work its way out.
But
that is,
wouldn't you just want to be? Wouldn't you just want to be right though? Like right after the game?
It's a TV show. It's a TV show.
So it's a TV show until the last week. Then it's not a TV show anymore.
Yeah, I think that last week they legitimately try and put the 4 best teams in. That's what I think. I think up until that point, it's contradictory all over the board. I listed out 3 or 4 things that contradict each other the first college football playoff ranking that came out. Just like when they put Ohio State number 1, because of your resume this year, because of your strength and schedule this year. It's got nothing to do with last year, yet you put Florida State number 4 behind Ohio State and Michigan that totally goes against the
I was just talking about head-to-head.
You put Georgia and Michigan 2-3 and put Ohio State number 1. It's contradictory. But the last week, Ohio State's going to play Michigan. It's going to work itself out. Oregon's going to play Washington. It's going to work itself out. With Texas and Oklahoma, if it all went straight, it would have worked itself out. Oklahoma lost 2 games. It already worked itself out. Alabama and Texas are not in that situation. It will not work itself out. If it comes down to it, one team's 12-1, the other one's 12-1. What's the common factor? It makes it easy on the committee. Luke and Bill said the same thing. You have to default to the head-to-head because that's all you have.
You could say that, but we had to head-to-head, and they went the other way with it. But when it's that, it doesn't matter. It's a TV show.
That's
but then
wrong.
the last
Blaine,
week,
you're not understanding what I'm saying. You're not understanding.
Then the last week, I get what you're saying. Trust me, I get what you're saying. Don't tell me what I don't understand. I understand.
Well, then don't.
Only
talk
I'm
like
saying
you don't
is this.
understand it.
Only I'm saying is we expect the committee to get it right. All right, your logic, I get it. Your logic is right. But these guys, it is a TV show. These guys, Nick Saban is coaching for that team. I'm just saying there is a chance where the committee would put Alabama in. I don't think it's right. I think Texas should get in, but I do think it's a TV show, and I think it's a bunch of guys who don't know football.
I know you don't believe that Alabama should get over Texas. I'm not saying that. What I'm telling you is if the committee did that, David, and they decided that head-to-head doesn't matter, you single-handedly ruined the regular season. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to tell you why they're not going to do it. Because if they would have done that, if they would have had that line of thinking, Alabama would have got in over TCU last year. They would have got in over TCU last year. But they didn't. They put the 4 right teams in last year that deserved it, in my opinion.
Well, Bama had an extra loss. TCU didn't.
Well, Bama lost the head-to-head against Texas.
Yeah, but they had the same amount of losses.
Yeah, but you lost the head-to-head. TCU didn't play Bama. You couldn't sit here and say, well, Bama has 2 losses, but they beat TCU in the non-conference.
Well,
so therefore,
they showing
TCU
us right now
get
that
in.
the head-to-head matters? Because this is what, the 4th straight week where Alabama's been behind Texas?
No, true. But I'm saying if you beat Georgia in the SEC championship, I mean that'll change some people's opinions.
Well,
that hits different.
If you beat Georgia,
back-to-back national champions.
If you beat Georgia in the SEC championship, yes, Alabama should be ahead of Georgia when it comes down to making the playoff because they beat them head-to-head and they have identical records. The same reason that Texas should get in over Alabama with identical records.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm saying that's my whole point.
Okay.
That's my whole point.
Yep.
Well, we want to know what you think. Let's get to the chat.
All right, let's go to Derek Cardwell with a $2 donation. Appreciate it, Derek. Says, do you think Louisville wins this weekend, a sneaky one versus Kentucky?
We talk about this, and you'll see in the next couple days. This is a weird sandwich spot. And you sit here and think, hey, it's a rivalry game. It's in state. You obviously get up for it. Yes, that's very true. But look where Louisville sits right now. You just came off an emotional win against, a Miami team. You've got Florida State coming down the pipe in the ACC championship. And Kentucky, they've kind of just had an okay year. There's been spots where Ray Davis and Devin Leary and these guys have been pretty good. There's been spots where they've been pretty bad. They haven't really won any big games per se with Kentucky. But this is a little bit, and we talk about this in the next couple days, which you'll see when we put it out. This is kind of a Mark Stoops special, right? But year 1, under Brom, I think that Pitt loss, while it's devastating for Louisville, this is when you reach back and you point to it if you're Coach Brom. You say, listen, the last team we overlooked was way worse than Kentucky. They're a 3-win team, and they beat us. right? Cost us an undefeated regular season. You shouldn't have to get anybody up for a rivalry game, but it is a rivalry game, so anybody can lose, in my opinion. So if Louisville doesn't play well and Kentucky goes in there and they're able to run the ball like Miami was able to run the ball, and that's who Kentucky is, they're a box run team. They're a run to play action team. This game could get really weird at the end, but I think Louisville sneaks out with it. I need to look at the line and see what it is for Kentucky. But if it's anything over a touchdown,
6.5.
6.5, I would buy that up to 7.5. I do kind of like Kentucky to cover that, but you can't look ahead if you're Louisville, especially with Jordan Travis being out now. You can't say, well, we got a much better chance to win. We got to get ready for Florida State. You cannot overlook Kentucky. They want to ruin your season, like Auburn wants to ruin Alabama's season, like Texas Tech wants to ruin Texas' season. It goes across the board. Like Georgia Tech wants to ruin Georgia's season. You cannot overlook it. But rivalry games kind of work themselves out.
In-state rivalry, man, it just smells funny. It'd be a lot more interesting if it were in Lexington.
Yes.
It's in Louisville, and plus they've proven to be focused for most of the year. So, I'm going to take Louisville in the game, but, man, Kentucky can make it interesting.
Let's go to Devin21, #Ask Crane and Company. Do you think that the UW jumping FSU has more to do with UW's resume and wins rather than FSU's quarterback injury?
I think it does. You can make a logical and rational argument for that when you look at the schedules. Do I think the Jordan Travis injury has an effect on it? Yes, a little bit. Now, again, I also think they look and say, okay, wait a minute. Ohio State and Michigan play each other. One of them will lose. So worst case scenario, Georgia wins out, or best case scenario, Georgia wins out. They're number one. Winner of Ohio State, Michigan is number two. If Washington and Florida State win out, there you go. There's your
to
four.
me, that would be all the more reason to leave it like it was. If you know that 2 versus 3 are going to play each other, why create any sort of external narrative or whatever?
You want to know why, David?
Leave it where it is.
It's a TV show. That's why it goes back.
But then now you're drawing scrutiny on yourself. Now it looks like the optics of it appear to be because Jordan Travis got hurt. Is why
I agree, but like David, I think they want the optics to be as crazy as possible until the last week. It's the same reason that, like I brought up, that they put Ohio State 1 and Florida State 4, or Florida State 4 when they were talking about resume this year matters more than anything. Well, then why is Florida State 4? The same reason they put Tulane with 1 loss over an Air Force team that was undefeated. It contradicts itself at different points. I think they try and appease half, and I got some great advice one time. You want half the people to love it and half the people to be pissed off. That's the best way to get ratings because it's a TV show, and they're hoping, and I get why you would hope this, that it works its way out. But if they just went and put peanut butter and jelly on there every single week, I don't think it would do as well as they wanted. I think there is some choreographed, optic craziness, I guess you would say, reality TV-ish type situation going on with the committee. That's what I think it is.
All right, let's go to Coffee Guys Sports with a $2 donation. Appreciate it, brother. He says, Jake, OU doesn't make the championship for the Big 12 without help. I believe it's Oklahoma State.
Yes, that's, again, I'm not saying that they are. What I was saying was when the rankings came out and they put Texas above Oklahoma, when they both had 1 loss, right? When they both had 1 loss, they knew that if both of those teams won out, they would play each other again, and one of them would have 2 losses. I know they have to have help to make it to the Big 12 championship game, but this was before that second loss. I want to make sure and point that out.
All right, let's go to Alan Crew. He wants to know, is Bama playing better than Texas right now? And if they played head-to-head, who would you take?
Oh, I would take Bama right now. But again, they don't. This is the same argument last year. Nick Saban said this. Well, TCU, if we played these guys on a neutral field, we'd be favored in Vegas. Well, guess what? Y'all played in September. Not only did y'all play in September, you played them at home, and you got beat by double digits. Regardless of how anybody's playing now or anything like that, it doesn't matter. You can't sit here and say that game doesn't matter because my team's playing better when you lost. It don't work like that in this game.
Let's go to Jimmy the Quarter. Jimmy the Quarter, love that badge, brother. We're going to switch up a little NFL question right here, fellas. Ask the boys, since Black Friday is in 2 days, if you could buy an NFL team, which one would it be right now? You're buying that stock going up.
To win the Super Bowl?
Yep. That's tough, man.
To win
Any team. I get any team?
Yeah, make it interesting, though.
Man, I'm taking the Eagles.
Okay.
Yeah, I would take the Eagles too. But if it's a stock where we're trying to buy low,
I know where you're going.
Where am I going?
We can we can come in medium. All right? We can come in medium, let it ride a little bit. I'd buy the 49ers.
You think Brock's got what it takes?
I think that roster's. I mean, you just added old boy from the Commanders, Chase Young, who's a great piece. The other bunch of kids looking healthy. Trent Williams, Trent's looking healthy. Debo's looking healthy. Brandon Ayuk went off. I mean, that pissed off Brock Purdy. Y'all got to remember, like, Brock destroyed his elbow in the playoffs last year, and they were looking good. So, I mean, they basically played a playoff game without a quarterback.
I'll buy the Chiefs low right now after.
How low could I buy the line?
How low can you go?
Yeah, the lines are interesting. The NFC, though, I just feel like they're all going to beat up on each other.
Yeah, which we're gonna get into that in our NFL power rankings that we're gonna do here in 1 second. But all right, let's get one more question, and we're gonna move on.
Okay, let's go to Heartbroken Hog. What's up, brother? So the Florida State goes undefeated and gets left out. It'll be absolutely disgusting. Can you see that happening because Jordan Travis got hurt?
No, I don't think they would do that. If Florida State wins out, they're going to be in. I mean, look, they still got them 5. I think if they were going to keep Florida State out because of Jordan Travis injury, Florida State would be even lower. I think they would be even lower than they are right now. I think they may have moved Alabama ahead of them or something like that. There's no way in the world. We brought up that Alabama-Texas scenario that you could punish a whole team that was perfect all year because one player got hurt, right? You talk about a bad precedent being set. That would be. We led the show off with it earlier this week. If you want to go see it, and we got really into depth about that. But speaking about in depth, we know you guys watch the games. We know you guys love to tailgate. We know you guys love to party while the game's going on, and a little bit of drinking happens. All right, there's some cold sodas that are consumed. You got Monday Night Football. You got Thursday night NFL games. They can go late. We know about this weekend. Going to be staying up watching games. Got a great slate on Friday. And when you're having some beer with the boys, it can lead to some not-so-fun mornings. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Hell, they named a famous comedy after it, the H word. Y'all know exactly what I'm saying. So when you have to get up to work for the next day or you got to go do something the next day, you want to feel better, quicker. That's where Z-Biotics comes in to play. It's a pre-alcohol probiotic. That means you drink this before you go out and drink that. And if you do that, you will feel way, way better. Trust me, I promise you this works. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists, all right, who I trust. Just remember to drink it before you drink alcohol, and obviously drink responsibly. We know that. Get a good night's sleep, and you will feel your best the next day. It is an unbelievable product. David, you used it. Blaine, you used it.
I have several times.
If you're somebody that goes out, you're in college, you don't want to, or you're getting up there in age, and let's say it hurts a little bit more than it used to. Z-Biotics is the perfect place. That's exactly right. ZBiotics.com/booster. That's ZBiotics.com/booster, BOOSTER, to get 15% off your first order with code BOOSTER at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, which you won't be, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. That's ZBiotics.com/booster. Use the code BOOSTER at checkout for 15% off.
All right. Need it today. You know what today is, right?
What?
Y'all know what today is? The day before Thanksgiving?
It's the day before Thanksgiving.
No, y'all don't know what it's called?
Pre-Thanksgiving.
I know what it's called? I'm not going to say what it's called. I get censored on here, but look it up. Yeah. You'll need Z-Biotic.
I want to know.
Yeah. I don't know. I ain't trying to get out.
Control room, y'all know what today is?
It's Blackout Wednesday.
It's Blackout Wednesday. There it is.
All right, well, that's the...
Oh, I thought that's just what happened in California.
No, that's a legitimate day they call before Thanksgiving. It's Blackout Wednesday.
That must be what the kids...
All right, let's get into some rapid fire here, DC.
Yeah, let's get into Tom Brady's comments on the NFL. Can we play this clip? And I want to see what the guys have to say about this.
Tommy B.
Had some harsh words for the NFL.
I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past.
Why not? Why not?
I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game. So I just think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it's been. I look at a lot of players like Ray Lewis and Rodney Harrison and Ronnie Lott and guys that impacted the game in a certain way, and every hit they would have made would have been a penalty. You hear coaches complaining about their own player being tackled and not necessarily, why don't they talk to their player about how to protect himself? We used to work on the fundamentals of those things all the time. Now they're trying to be regulated all the time. Offensive players need to protect themselves. It's not up to the defensive player to protect the offensive player. A defensive player needs to protect himself. I didn't throw the ball to certain areas because I was afraid players were going to get knocked out. That's the reality. Wow. I didn't throw it to the middle when I played Ray Lewis because you knock him out of the game, and I couldn't afford to lose.
Here's the way I feel about it. I feel like number one, as a defensive guy, I appreciate Tom Brady.
I thought you would.
Tom Brady, it's like he played in two different eras, right? He played in it's like NBA players that played in the 90s and like the early 2000s. Like it's a totally different game. Like back when Tom Brady was first playing, you could hit people, like legitimately, including the quarterback. But toward the end of Tom Brady's career, nobody got more, you accidentally touched the quarterback penalties than Tom Brady. Don't get me started on the Tuck rule, but that's a story for another day. But Tom Brady was untouchable. I almost feel like Tom Brady started the trend of protecting the quarterback at all costs, like more than just about anybody. So I feel like it's a little bit hypocritical, but I do appreciate him saying that. And listen, I do think the rules, there is too much red tape in the NFL. They're talking about getting rid of the hip drop tackle. You can't hit anybody anymore. How do you tackle anybody anymore? How do you play DB anymore? Like you can't touch receiver. Yeah, I can't put my hands on a receiver after 5 yards down the field. You know how much of an advantage that is? Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous, and I get it. They want the offense to score points because points equal ticket sales. People want to watch offense. They don't want to go watch Iowa play Nebraska this weekend. They want to go watch Texas and Texas Tech go up and down, score, and all this craziness. But at some point, you're watering down the game. It is so hard, and the harder it is to play defense, the harder it is to coach it. Like, how do I coach you now? You have to be perfect in a game that is going at 1,000 miles per hour, and physical decisions get made in milliseconds, split seconds. So I get what Tom Brady is saying, but Tom Brady was also part of the wave that, the don't touch me wave at quarterback. How many times did Tom Brady get whispered at and turn around and look at the ref and say something, and here comes the flag? And then it just started to go all the way across the NFL. It went from quarterbacks. Now it's defenses. The hit on Josh Dobbs the other day. Kareem Jackson, I think, is a dirty player. I think Kareem's a dirty player. I've watched him do this multiple times. That hit on Josh Dobbs was not a dirty hit.
It was
at all. It's a joke.
What do y'all thought? You think Derwin James is a dirty player?
I think Kareem's a little bit dirtier than Derwin. I think Derwin knows what he's doing.
Derwin James, it seems like he won't like change the way he plays based off the rules that are now, right? Like he continues to allow himself to be penalized over and over again, even though I've never seen like a specific hit where I'm like, okay, this guy is trying to like injure another player.
Well, like when I saw Kareem Jackson hit Logan Thomas from the Commanders in the end zone, it was almost like the Boston College guy the other night. Like you watch that target.
Oh, that was...
Yeah. You're like, that. You can't do that.
That was a plant for a teach tape.
Yeah, I've watched Kareem Jackson do that multiple times. I feel like most of the time Derwin James stuff isn't exactly launching in the air. He's launching down at people, which I think is different. But Tom Brady makes a great point. Ed Reed couldn't play that. They throw him out every game.
Well, all those guys would be dirty players now. Yeah. Ed Reed, Ray Lewis,
Sean Taylor,
they all be considered dirty players. I mean, that's what, I think there's a line that you can find between player safety and still having the violence of football, right? It's getting to the point where it's becoming a 7-on-7. That's what it's becoming. I mean, you can't, where can you hit a guy realistically if you're a defender? And people don't realize how fast this stuff is happening. Yeah. I know the camera can slow it down for you, but buddy, this is bang, bang, boom, boom. You have to adjust on a millisecond of hitting somebody. It's changing fundamentals of how you tackle. And that gets what? That gets people hurt. Football, people want to watch football for touchdowns and people getting hit.
Yes.
That's why it's a gladiator sport, all right? You sign up for football because you like that stuff. I signed up for football because I liked hitting people. Mm-hmm. I had to get that out of me from a day-to-day basis or I would freak out. These are grown men who get paid millions of dollars, and they're complaining. All right, the quarterback's a little bit different. I think you can protect him a little bit more just because the angles he gets hit, and most of the time you don't see it coming. But other than that, if you play receiver, if you play safety, it should be full-on go. You cross the middle, you pay a price, right? That's football. That's how it's supposed to be.
One of the most interesting parts about this when this broke was I was thinking Tom Brady just retired. Like, this isn't Terry Bradshaw talking about today's game. You're still in the conversation to get calls whenever a quarterback gets injured. But because he played so long, you said it best. He played in multiple eras of football. And I was watching that because someone posted right under this the most vicious hits Tom Brady ever took. And a lot of them are from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's like, man,
that sideline hit
absolutely demolished, time and time again. So if there's anybody I trust to, see the trajectory of the NFL or to spot any flaws, it's this guy, even though, of course, on the field, he's trying to benefit from a personal foul.
Oh, without a doubt. I don't blame him for doing that.
But also, it's worth noting, like, the players are the ones making these changes happen. Like the NFLPA, like if you want to practice less and you want to have, fewer padded practices and not hit so much, like it's not so much even coming down from the league as players don't want to hit that much anymore.
Yeah. It's
like
just, it's the truth. It was an interesting take. I mean, I think he brings up some really.
I was surprised he said it.
I was too, especially
on
a defense.
Next one here, I want to talk about this Dana White and Bud Light situation because a lot of people in the chat have been asking about it. Mm-hmm. And the news of this broke the last time that we were in Vegas hanging out with Dana White for Power Slap 5, that he signed a $100 million deal with Bud Light to be the official beer of the UFC. And right when this news broke, the very first thing that I thought of was, this was Bud Light selling out, not necessarily Dana White selling out, right? Like that's the very first thought that I had on this, because when you think about it, like Dana White in the UFC, he's not changing his values to align with whatever Bud Light was doing with the Dylan Mulvaney trans thing, right? Like it forced Bud Light to say, man, we messed up so badly that we have to sign a $100 million sponsorship deal with the most masculine sport in the world. And we have to cave and bend to what Dana White has built up. Now, I think I speak for a lot of people when I say, I wish Dana White had come out and say, get bent. I wish he had said, hey, kick rocks and get lost. That's not what he ended up doing. Now, I'm never going to drink Bud Light again, but I wasn't drinking Bud Light to begin with. So I'm not necessarily the demographic. Maybe you guys can tell me. If this were Maker's Mark, we'd be having a very different conversation. But it seemed like for all of the people who are going to keep boycotting Bud Light because they don't want to align themselves with whatever they were doing with the Dylan Mulvaney or their new global woke agenda, then all that's happened is they forced Bud Light to give $100 million of dry powder capital to Dana White to grow his brand, and people still aren't going to drink it.
Yeah, look, I got a pretty easy way to like correlate this. Dylan Mulvaney versus Conor McGregor. Men can be women, women can be men. Put them in the ring. Let's fight. Let's find out.
But if anything, if I'm Dana White and I did take the sponsor, I'm going to push it as far as I can. I'm going to have the most conservative takes. I want to see how serious Bud Light's about it. Are you just faking it? All right. Are you just trying to get in good graces? Because look, man, I don't drink Bud Light. I'll never drink Bud Light. But I do think people deserve second chances. Even if it was some crazy marketing lady, apparently the CEO didn't know about it. Yeah, I'm sure about that. But I trust in Dana White. I trust in his decisions. And look, you'll see if they're really serious about actually being, good about beer, having a good beer, and not being about politics.
Did you drink Bud Light before?
Like that's not my go-to.
Was that your beer?
No, I'm a Miller.
That's your go-to.
I'm a Miller
beer?
guy.
How do you feel moving
I'm
forward?
a Miller guy.
I haven't drank it since.
Yeah.
Well, like I don't drink again, at the end of the day, there's multiple. It wasn't like I just drink Bud Light and all these other beers suck. Mm-hmm. No, I used to drink just Bud Heavies. Like that was the go-to. And then, you get older and stuff like that. But I don't mind Miller Lite. Like hell, I'll drink a Blue Moon or a Yingling.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, at the end of the day.
I mean, don't you see this as a win, though, for the company to say, like, I would rather them come out and apologize and say, no, we messed up and did something bad, rather than the CEO of Anheuser-Busch talking about, no, our quarterly projections are unscathed. What are you talking about, man? That's the sort of elitist mindset. But this is your way of telling me that you messed up so badly that you're having to change your values to get on board with the most masculine sport in the world. And if that ends up changing over time, if we see something where the UFC starts selling Dylan Mulvaney cans at their fights, then of course, we'll call Dana White out with everyone else. I just feel like right now he fleeced them.
Yeah, look, I mean, $100 million, that's a lot of cake. That's a lot of cake. And look, like I said, Mulvaney McGregor, UFC, let's do it. You want to talk about pay-per-views?
I love it. All right, let's move on. We can get to the NFL Power Ranking next week. We have some NFL stuff coming out later this week. Yeah,
we do. Remember, the phone lines are opened up. I want to get there pretty quickly. We got our locks, leans, and dogs. Let's go ahead and put that graphic up there. Then we're going to get to your speech.
Oh, I got a speech
about today. Let's go ahead and get the locks, leans, and dogs on here. Been super hot on these. Had somebody hit a pretty big parlay, message me on Facebook. They used some of our locks last week. Here's what I got. Give me Oregon minus 13.5 at home. I've talked about it all week. We say styles make fights. Oregon State wants to run the ball, play action off of it. I don't think they're going to be able to run it against Oregon, and I think Oregon offensively will be able to put up some big numbers at home against the Beavers. I know it's a civil war. Sorry to our good friend Sean Ketstever, but at the end of the day, give me Oregon minus 13.5. That's at minus 110. Then Tennessee got embarrassed second half against Alabama. got embarrassed at home against Georgia. So what happens next? You beat up on the little kid with glasses, and that's Vanderbilt. Coming in, Tennessee, minus 27, senior day, all that jazz. Josh Heupel wants to put a big number up, get a good taste in their mouth, get to 8-4. That's at minus 110. And then leans. Give me Georgia Tech over 60. I don't think Georgia Tech can stop Georgia at all. I think Georgia Tech will be able to score a couple of touchdowns. Excuse me, this feels like a 48-20 type game, 48-17 type game. So give me the over at 60 at minus 110. Then South Carolina at home. Shout out to my boy Chris from Spurs Up. Give me the Gamecocks plus 7.5. That's minus 112 with Clemson coming in. I don't think Clemson's skill players are good enough on the outside to be able to create enough separation to get ahead of South Carolina. The only worry I have is South Carolina's bad up front on both sides of the ball. If Will Shipley and them are able to lean on them, then they're in trouble. But I like them at plus 7.5 with Rattler and Leggett. And then my dogs, Minnesota at home on the money line. Give me them plus 114. And then NC State at home against North Carolina.
We took the same ones?
Yeah,
Oh.
did we? We did take the same ones. But
Early, they
feel
believe
really
this
good about
weekend,
it.
PJ.
there it is.
Now I
baby, at
feel
plus
really good
114.
about it.
David, what do you got?
All right, pull mine up. Oh, there it is. All right, Iowa, Nebraska under 26 and a half.
not?
I just have to. Like, there's no other option. I've hit like
it's a
7 of
smart
these
bet.
in a row.
Smart bet.
I honestly, at this point, I wouldn't care if it said 18 and a half. I have to just take it just to find out, right? That's minus 110. Georgia minus 24. Look, hats off to everything that, the staff at Georgia Tech has done. We're really good friends with Buster Faulkner over there, but Georgia's a machine right now. I like them minus 24. Probably stays close a little bit in the first half maybe, but second half, I think they pull away. Utah, Colorado. No, this is...
That should say Utah minus 21.5, right?
That should say Utah minus 21.5.
All right.
Utah minus 21.5 playing Colorado because I put some faith in Colorado last week. Let me down against Washington State, so I'm going to go with the Utes. Maybe there's some extra added energy now that they know Cam Rising's coming back next year. Oregon State under 62.5. Both of these defenses are still strong defenses. And I think if Oregon really controls the game they want to, then that's going to involve the run game a lot. That's going to involve chewing a lot of clock.
Run, yeah.
Same thing with Oregon State. So under 62.5, I like that bet. Same dogs as Jake. Man, I really feel good about it now. NC State money line. They're playing North Carolina at home. They're 8-3 right now. They're ranked. And then I'm going to take Minnesota at home as well, plus 114. They've lost their last 3, but Wisconsin is coming to their place, and they've lost the last 3 of 4.
Yeah, it's an ugly fight, for sure.
Oh, also, I just have to say, for value on the dog picks, you have got to look at the Buckeyes, too. Money line for the Buckeyes right now going to beat Michigan without their head coach is plus 142. You just got to call it like you see it. That's some really good value for a team that's ranked number 2 in the country right now.
Yeah, I agree. Anyways, let's go to my locks. And it's Michigan. Money line, minus 150, baby. Believe in them this week, Dave. Believe. Hey, right here. Your Coach Harbaugh's already using quotes from them. All right. Believe in JJ and the boys. And then I'm going Georgia minus 23.5. I bought this down a point just because when I was going over this, I had the over-under 35.5 in the Buffalo game yesterday. It ended at 35. That's the kind of stuff that really pisses me off. So I bought it down a point just in case. And then let's go to leans. Let's find out where we're leaning. Missouri minus 6.5 against Arkansas. I don't know what Vegas sees in this line, but Missouri's a damn good football team on both sides of the ball. I think they're getting healthy. Brady, somebody cooked here and D-Schrader, the D2 god, running that ball in the backfield. Don't forget Luther Burden. He's out here cooking kids since he's like 14 years old. And then give me Wisconsin, Minnesota under 41.5. Ohio State just sunned Minnesota in the driveway playing basketball last week. And look, I'm a big Chuba Purdy guy, but still both these offenses are anemic. Excuse me, that's Nebraska. But both these offenses are anemic in both these schools. So I like to under in this. And the dogs, baby. Give me Florida. Plus 200 at home versus Florida State. Look, going to be close. Both coming in with a backup quarterback. I feel like Billy saved some things in his bag for this game. And I think the running game gets Florida over the top. And then the game of the game, the real game, the Auburn Tigers plus 480. Okay? Just listen to me. This isn't a homer take. Yes, it is. All right? I hate Alabama, and they suck. Give me Auburn money.
Great
line.
analysis.
Good luck with that.
What do you want me to say, Dave?
Got some skin.
What do you want me to say? Peyton Thorne's going to have a hell of a day.
Got some skin in the game of that one. And speaking about skin, Genucel, unbelievable product, great gift, holiday gift as well. Well, it doesn't matter, male, female. It's incredible stuff. Their most popular package has a special discount just for our listeners at JanieCell.com/booster. If you got forehead wrinkles, fine lines, skin redness, yes, even a sagging jawline, it will disappear right before your eyes with JanieCell's most popular collection. How do you think Cone's skin stays so good,
gracious,
right? And mine is just so delicious and beautiful. But from now until Christmas, JanieCell, you have a beard.
That doesn't make me have bad skin.
I'm not saying you have bad skin. We can't see the full immersion. It's the largest organ in your body. I can see 10%
I didn't get invited to the cool tent for it. That's how it is.
Yeah, well, from now until Christmas, JanieCell's most popular package has a special discount, like I said, just for our listeners at JanieCell.com/booster. Treat yourself and your loved ones to the absolute best skincare in the world. Go to JanieCell.com/booster to get this incredible holiday discount. Every order today is instantly upgraded to free express shipping. Booster Club sold them out last time. That's GENUCEL.com/booster today. GENUCEL.com/booster. Go check that out. All right, we're going to get to calls in a second. But, David, you got a speech.
Oh, yeah.
I'm over here trying not to sneeze, so this worked out.
Not yelling at anyone about my lawn today.
What?
No.
That's okay.
Somebody's getting all over his lawn today.
I'm living in it.
I'm living under it.
You can still set it up if you'd like.
Oh, okay. Well, David has a speech, and he's going to give it right now. Go, David.
Growing up in South Georgia, all I wanted was to play college football, to compete in a packed stadium on Saturday afternoon as sounds from the marching band permeate like thunder. I never anticipated going 1,000 miles away from home to do so, but when the University of Michigan gave me the opportunity to join their brotherhood, despite being the son of a Columbus, Ohio native, I accepted with enthusiasm. The years that followed were equal parts demanding and rewarding, as it should be with any worthy endeavor. I was in the room for Coach Bo Schembechler's last speech the night before he died. I was on the field for Coach Lloyd Carr's final game the day before he retired. I met presidents and movie stars, and all I had to sacrifice was everything. And such is the case this week for hundreds of young men who will run through tunnels across America to play their final football games. They'll contend for apple cups and golden eggs and wooden boots. And over the course of 3 hours, dreams will be realized and shattered. There will be broken hearts and broken bones, because that's the price we pay for just a chance at greatness. For a few hours, sports will represent the best America has to offer, not the worst. For a few hours, football will instill the values we need in young men today. For a few hours, when the ball kicks off, no one will be arguing over NCAA investigations or coaching suspensions, and whatever vitriol is spewed should still be a welcome reprieve from the typical politics or current affairs. For those watching, never take the game for granted, because there's no guarantee or obligation that the next generation will care as much as we have. And for those competing, understand what you do, win or lose, will echo in eternity. The last football game of my career was a loss to Ohio, and that's how it shakes out sometimes in a zero-sum game. But you don't want to know that feeling. Come Saturday, lock the gate, and leave a legacy. There's no greater privilege than the pressure of high expectations.
Bars.
Tell 'em,
Bars. Well done, D. Well done. And it's true, regardless of who you root for, right? Regardless of who you root for. That's what makes this week so special. That's what makes this game so special. And that's what I think makes sports so special. And that's something that we have to protect from all the craziness that tries to infect it, that's infected other parts of our society. And this is just good old-fashioned hate.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't, it's what we experience today. This is my team versus your team. And there is that respect factor that we talked about as well. Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, South Carolina, Clemson. At the end of the day, it's what makes sports.
Yeah, you can't have any sort of good rivalry unless there is that mutual respect level.
I mean, respect and hate. Within hate, there is respect.
And with respect, there's also hate.
There's a little bit of hate. We'll see. But let's get to phone calls.
All right, let's see who's on the line. Let me pull it up. All right, we got Ethan in Seattle. I think he tried to call in yesterday. Thanks for calling back in. Ethan, how you doing?
Good morning, boys. How's it going?
What's up, E?
What's up, E?
So, again, resident Nebraska fan for Crane & Company. I think we have a good shot on Saturday. I think we have a good shot to go bowling because it's basically just a triple threat between our two offenses and solid defenses. You know, I think you have a pretty good shot at hitting the under, David, and I think it'll just be kind of a rock fight until the end. But it was kind of more. I wanted to call in more just as a kind of get off my lawn. I don't know how insulated I am because I'm not in Nebraska. But online, there's a lot of upset Nebraska fans, and I get that. But I'm like, guys, it's still Matt Rule's first season. Mm-hmm. I kind of see ourselves as in the same position as Auburn, where this is the worst team that he's going to have. Like, none of these guys are people he recruited, and none of these guys are really fit for what he exactly wants to do. And for what he's gotten out of them, I'm pretty happy about it. And looking at what's coming forward, like what's coming ahead, I'm excited for next year's recruiting class. I'm excited for next year's schedule. Am I crazy for thinking that? What do you?
No. I mean, again, it's year one, and look, it'd be different if this guy was still an unknown. It'd be different if you went and hired a coordinator or a guy who had coached just a couple years as a head coach at a group of 5 and had success. Matt Rule has built programs back up, or has taken programs that really had no winning tradition and gave them success. He has a track record that you can lean on. I think that should give you solace if you're a Nebraska fan. And look, I mean, you look at the personnel right now compared to what he's going to have in year 3, it's going to be totally different. So, look, I know the expectations, regardless of what Nebraska's done and how much they've struggled, with Scott Frost and, even going back before that, and obviously the firing of Bo Pelini, however you feel about that, and even back to Frank Solich, we could sit here and have that conversation. But I do think Matt Rule's the right guy at the right time for Nebraska, and the standards shouldn't be lowered, but reality should also be accepted. I say the exact same thing about Auburn. Got to give this man time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Right. Like this isn't it. This was not a quick fixer-upper at Nebraska. All of a sudden, hey, we're back. Back in the big time. So yes, I understand being upset because you wait all year for your team to play. Had a lot of momentum, new coach. Maybe we can come in here and shock the world a little bit. Go to a bowl game. Keep recruiting. Let the man build, and then get on the arc and enjoy the show.
I'm a little surprised to see Nebraska favored in this game, Ethan, but I do agree with what you're saying. They're at home. They need this for bowl eligibility, and the team you're playing has already locked up that division to play in the conference championship. So I kind of understand some of the thinking behind the line, at least.
Yeah, and I think, I understand as much as anybody why people are upset. Because, if there was an award for the most miserable fan base over the last 2 decades, I think Nebraska would probably be in the running to win that. But I think, look at we have a 4-star tight end recruit coming in. He's the number 2 recruit in the country. And we stole him away from Georgia, Alabama, and Oregon. So that feels pretty good. We have a O-lineman. We did the same thing. That's pretty exciting. And there's games that we just have kept on fighting in that under Scott Frost, under Mike Riley, we would have just rolled over and died in the fourth quarter. But we haven't done that. We still lost. I understand another close loss is terrible. I understand losing to Wisconsin again, who we haven't beat since 2012, is hurtful. I know we haven't beat Iowa more than twice since 2014. All these things I know, but I'm pretty optimistic still, and I still see a bunch of people that are hating online. So I was just making sure I wasn't crazy, because I think we're on the right track. It just needs a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not crazy, Ethan. And development's a big part of it too. It's not just going out and getting the best players; it's being able to develop them. And I think that's one of Matt Rule's specialties. So no, I don't think you're crazy at all.
Appreciate it, Ethan.
Appreciate it, E.
Thanks so much, man. Call in next week. All right, let's go to Kirk in Canada. Kirk, how's your bet doing with Blaine right now? Are you winning that bet or losing?
Hey, I didn't catch what you said there, David.
Are you losing that bet to Blaine yet or no?
Oh, we don't need to talk about anything.
Yeah, Kirk. No, Kirk, we can talk about it, Kirk.
How's that going, by the way?
10-7, bud. 10-7. Excited about a lot of things.
What's on your football mind there, Kirk?
I guess I didn't. I'll admit it. I'm a Canadian. I don't watch a whole lot of college football. I watched one college football game last year. It happened to be Ohio State, Michigan. I did not realize up until watching some YouTube videos this week just the rivalry. I knew it was a rivalry, but I saw that video from 1973 when Ohio comes running in, and ripping down the banner of the Go Blue banner.
Nah, get out of here. Yeah, I remember it. I was there.
Like, what?
An old
and
soul.
then in 1977, Ohio tried to run underneath the Michigan banner, and a bunch of fans got in and got totally bowled over. And I was like, man, these guys hate each other. It's awesome.
Kirk, it's real, man. Here, look, you need to look up Harvey Updike. That's what you need to go to YouTube and look up next.
Harvey Updike?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Go listen to those calls.
Yeah, go check that out, and then let us know what you think about that too. It's
when
also
your
crazy.
excuse is I had too much Bama in me.
Yeah. He was basically the Scarecrow from Batman.
I knew something was up when I was watching. I won't mention it, but C.J. Stroud was talking to the greatest football quarterback of all time, and he talks to him and he says, "I hate you guys."
Yeah, no, it's the truth. Hey,
I thought how much there's of a rivalry for you to talk to the greatest quarterback of all time and say, "I hate you guys."
Look, that's real, and he respected it.
And he looks right back at him and says, "I hate you guys more."
Yeah, that's exactly. Hey, did you watch the Grey Cup?
Oh, I watched the highlights. I actually can't stand Canadian football.
Did the Alouettes end up winning?
Fired.
The Alouettes, did they end up winning it?
The Montreal Alouettes won it, and it was quite a. In their 3 previous games of the season, they hadn't scored a touchdown against Winnipeg, and then they went and scored 3 and won the Grey Cup. It's quite an upset, actually.
It's amazing. I just wish y'all would move the field goal post to the back of the end zone. That's something that's.
Yeah.
Oh, don't even get me started.
I'm like, come on, guys.
You were on your honeymoon, Jake, when I called in and gave my 7 reasons why I can't stand the CFL.
Was that one of them?
One of them, for sure.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. It's like putting a stop sign in the middle of the interstate. What are we doing? What are we doing?
What are we doing?
I don't get it.
I agree.
Appreciate it, Kirk.
Hey, remember Skyhook.
Kirk.
Happy
Thanks, brother.
Guys.
Hey, you too, brother. You too. By the way, just an update. The Flyers are second in the Metropolitan.
Second.
Yeah. At 10-7.
The
The Leafs are third in the Atlantic, and they're 10-6. But 12.5?
Come on, man.
Fly high.
Some people call me the hockey guru.
A lot of belief in Philly.
Barry Melrose.
Blaney
2.0.
Melrose.
I love it. All right, well, let's go to Orlando and talk to Walker. Walker, what's up?
Walker.
Texas Ranger in Orlando.
Yep. Texas Ranger. How's it going, guys?
What's up, man?
What's up, brother?
Not much. Riding the Gus bus to hopefully a bowl game after Saturday. But my question was, barring a loss in the SEC championship, who has a better chance to make the playoffs between Georgia or the loser of Michigan and Ohio State? What do you guys think?
You talking about if Georgia lost to Bama and then the loser of Michigan and Ohio State?
Yes. Granted, Texas may lose, however else that works out.
Man,
it'd be Georgia.
It would have to be Georgia, don't you think?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they're sitting there at number 1. And Alabama's here's obviously what happens around them matters. But it's one thing, I think, to be the number 1 team, and you look at the way Alabama's playing, the way the committee looks at Alabama. You look at, obviously, Michigan without their head coach. I would say Georgia, but it's it's not a wide gap.
It would be Georgia, but you know what would help that a lot is if Auburn beats Alabama this weekend. Because if Auburn beats Alabama and gives them 2 losses, and then Alabama goes in and wins the SEC championship game, you're going to have a similar situation to the TCU and Kansas State last year, where it's like TCU lost in the conference championship, but Kansas State already had multiple losses. So Georgia could be sitting there saying, okay, we didn't win our championship. We lost to Alabama, but they already have 2 losses. They're out. We're sitting here as back-to-back champions with 1 loss. We need to get in over a team up north who didn't even compete in the conference championship game.
See, Walker, I am fine with allowing a team with less losses to get in over a team that they lost to, as opposed to teams with an equal amount of losses. If you have 1 loss and another team has 2 losses, and the 1-loss team lost to that 2-loss team, I can still understand, just like the TCU-Kansas State situation that you just brought up last year. Kansas State ended up with 2 losses. TCU had 1. TCU lost to Kansas State, but they still made the playoff because they're not on equal ground, right? Just like teams that are undefeated and teams that have 1 loss are not on equal ground. Yeah. So I agree with that 100%.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Of course, Orlando.
Appreciate it, man. All right, let's go to Chase in California. Chase, how are you?
How's it going, guys?
Coast to coast.
All right, 2 questions really quickly. First one, We're going to need some help from the Mormons and BYU this weekend. What chance do you guys give BYU to beat Oklahoma State this weekend?
Man, Oklahoma State's like, you start out the season one way, then all of a sudden you figure out Ollie Gordon's a really good running back. It's weird with BYU, and I know that they got up to play Oklahoma
last week.
You talking about Ollie?
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jake, but because I didn't notice at least him get his first carry until like late in the second quarter, I think it was.
I've got to go back. I didn't watch that Houston game against Oklahoma. I was scoreboard watching that one.
Ollie played 7 yards.
Here's what I'll say. BYU against Oklahoma, and I know Dylan Gabriel was out in the second half. They put up a fight. It was at home. It was senior day. I think Oklahoma State is going to boat race BYU. I don't think you're going to get any help because BYU, to be honest with you, with Slovis being hurt, the backup kid, he's not a great thrower. He's a decent runner. I don't think they can slow down Oklahoma State's run game. I don't think they're overtly physical on defense. I love Rex, their tight end, but this is not a typical physical BYU team. I think it's an awful matchup, and it's on the road. And you still got look at what Oklahoma State can do. Man, I don't see it, brother. I don't see it, unfortunately, for you.
Agreed. So then I'll get to my second point really quick why I called. I mentioned this to Blaine in the chat a little bit, but I'm glad I got to call in because I wanted to hear all three of your opinions really quick. Did you guys see Ryan Leaf's comments on Jaden Daniels yesterday?
What did he?
I saw. I thought this was just like an Oregon reporter who came out with this. Unless we're talking about different things. Are you saying Ryan Leaf said that Jay Daniels would be a backup at Oregon and Washington?
Ryan Leaf said that Jaden Daniels would be Bo Nix and Michael Penix's backup.
Okay,
I saw someone else saying that this week. It wasn't Ryan Leaf.
Yeah,
it was a Heisman
was like
voter.
a John
Heisman, an Oregon Heisman voter.
Somebody said he would be holding a clipboard.
Yeah.
At Oregon.
He's just saying that to try to get Bo Nix to win the Heisman. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Well, no, to me, he's saying that to get clicks. I mean, look.
If you guys go to his Twitter, he posted on Twitter, the 4 best CFB players this year have been Jordan Travis, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix Jr., but 2 of them have been that much better. And then underneath that, he posts a picture of Jaden Daniels with the quote, he'd be the backup at Oregon or Washington, and underneath it says Ryan Leaf on Jaden Daniels' Fanatic Sportsbook. And then next to it, there's a video of, Ryan Leaf explaining that.
Look, here's where I stand. I look at the way Jaden, right now, if I was drafting quarterbacks for a college football team, I would take Jaden Daniels number 1. I feel like
he's number 1 in the country and everything.
He's the best combination of both. He's a better combination of runner and thrower.
3 games out there. I told somebody yesterday that tried to tell me, well, he's lost more games combined than both of them. I was like, Caleb Williams was 11-3 last year, and nobody was batting an eye when they were talking about him winning.
It's amazing how that works out, right? It's amazing how that works out, Chase.
So I don't understand how that's supposed to work.
No, it's because it's contradictory. Look, here's the way I look at it. I think there's 2 guys we should be talking about in the Heisman right now. It's Jaden Daniels and it's Bo Nix. And Jaden Daniels should be the Heisman winner. He's still got a game against Texas A&M. I know Oregon still got one against Oregon State and then Washington. But at the end of the day, we're sitting here debating the best quarterbacks in college football over who would start one another. Here's what would happen. If Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels were on the same team, one of them would transfer. That's what would happen.
Thank you.
That's
what I thought. I was like, it's disrespectful to even have that conversation if you're Ryan Leaf, man. All 3 of those dudes are on the same pedestal right now. And
you're gunning for
undercut him like that. I thought that was extremely disrespectful to Jaden Daniels.
You're going for clicks. That's what Ryan's doing. He's going for clicks.
Dog in that fight. But
Nothing Michael Penix or Bo Nix has done better than Jaden Daniels.
Ryan Leaf would have been holding a clipboard at Tennessee behind Peyton Manning.
They
both played on the same team.
Again, only one guy can play, especially in the transfer era. One of them would transfer. Why are we sitting? If they were both on the same team and we were arguing who should start, that's a totally different story. But that's just to generate clicks, man. That's just it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm. Appreciate it, Chase. Is it 5:45 where you are, Chase? Is it 5:45 where you are?
Yes, sir. 5:45. So I work
dude.
Love it.
This dude is a legend.
I love the
Atta
energy
boy.
you're waking up with.
Atta
Come on,
Pack the
Chase.
day, baby.
Y'all hear that?
Huge.
Chase is calling in at
You
5:30
guys
in the
know
morning
Chasing
out
the
there.
Mills. Happy Thanksgiving, boys.
Let's go, baby.
We're all
Happy
chasing those
Thanksgiving.
Bills, man. Let's go to Jared in Honolulu. Who knows what time it is out there?
Oh, he's out of
Jared.
Maui.
Jared, what's up?
That Maui Wowie.
So if you guys are giving Chase credit for being on at 5:45, I deserve that much more credit for being
What time
on at
is it?
3:45.
3:45.
Come on, baby.
Look, somebody
That's a
out there.
record.
Somebody out there is in like Benghazi or something. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. Too. Let's keep going down. Let's see who's earlier.
Someone's going to call in from yesterday.
Hold on.
Yeah.
That might be Jared.
Yeah.
Jared, so have you not gone to sleep, or are you just up and getting after those mills already?
I mean, it's kind of a weird situation because kind of my time clock is off. It's like off here, but I definitely wanted to just call in. I watch you guys every morning, so figured I would keep the routine the same.
That a boy.
Different location, same routine.
So grind for greatness.
Wow.
Grind for greatness. How is it out there? You like it out there?
Bro, like I've been to a lot of big sporting events. This is the favorite one I've ever been to, just because it's like a big AAU tournament. It's like
in Hawaii.
Every single team, I mean, it's every team, it's every player, it's like every fan base. We're all staying at the Sheraton, so we go to the gym, we all watch basketball, we all come back. Like last night, there was like that fight with Marquette, like in Kansas, kind of, and they all had to come back to the hotel together. It was just, it's just a crazy situation. Like I love it. Yeah.
Hey, Jared, how big is Zach Edey in person?
Zach Edey. Okay, like so for context, I was next to Zach Edey on the elevator, and I'm 6'5", 230. And
yeah, you sound like huge, Jared.
Like, he made me look like a dwarf, and I'm like not a small guy, so that was it was humbling.
Yeah, well, I always tell people I've been to a couple NBA games in my life, and the first one I went to was in Denver, and it was the Nuggets playing the Bucks, right? And look, I've been to a ton of college basketball games. I've seen really tall people, coach college football, seen big people. If you ever go to an NBA game, make sure before the game, during warmups, you walk down the floor level and you see Andrew Bogut was the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I literally looked at Andrew Bogut and like instantly started believing in like giants and like dwarves and elves and stuff. Still do. Like, it just, people don't realize, like, Zach Edey is what, 7'4"?
Yeah.
7?
Wemby's 7'5".
Like, that's, Wemby, oh my God.
Wemby's 7. Look, I've never been to an NBA game. Always wanted to go. Never been to one, but we had DeMarcus Cousins' brother.
Jaleel?
Went to my high school, and his name was Jaleel. He was 6'11" and sucked at basketball. There's nothing more that pisses me off, all right? When you're 6'5" plus and suck at basketball. You're a waste of height. Unless you're doing some other sport, like playing quarterback. David's pretty damn good at basketball. I played basketball with David. He's damn good. But he was 6'11" and could barely dunk.
Yeah, no, that's
Get away from
Who's the best team you've seen, Jared, out there?
It's super interesting. So I would say between the three teams, Tennessee's always really good at the start of the year because they play great defense, but they usually peak pretty early. I do think that Purdue is probably the best team because, I don't know, like Jake always says a couple of things that stand out. He says the best teams, they can win in multiple ways, and he also says styles make fights. In Purdue, unlike last year's team, I think this year's team does a really good job because they're not a one-trick pony. They like to slow it down and pound the ball into Edey. But if Edey is out the game, they've got some guards who can run up and down. Like they can beat you in multiple ways this year. So I think there's a chip on their shoulder too, kind of losing extremely early in the tournament last year. So it's early in the season, but I think Purdue is solid. Purdue is super solid.
I agree. They look like they run better than what they did last year. And I was watching them play the other night, Purdue and Gonzaga, which, by the way, it's really weird to watch Gonzaga without True Timmy. It's like weird now. It's just like, I know Hickman's coming back and they've got a couple other guys that have come back, but without Drew Timmy, it's just weird. But when I was watching Gonzaga, they were basically triple teaming Zach Edey, but Purdue was athletic enough this year to be able to kind of combat it in the second half. And remember, Virginia lost to UMBC in round one of the NCAA tournament. Then the next year went and won the national championship. Purdue got embarrassed last year.
Yeah, they cheated Auburn.
They did cheat Auburn. Yeah. They did cheat Auburn,
you
Jared.
Bring that up?
Yeah, Jared, they did cheat
in
Auburn.
rivalry week?
Dead inside. But hey, man, thanks for calling in, bro. Enjoy it out there. Drink a cold soda for me.
Hey, man, thanks again for calling in, Jared. We appreciate it.
Or maybe a cool drink with
Florida basketball signed that 7'6" recruit, Oliver Rue.
Who Florida did?
Your name's Oliver and you're 7'6".
Oliver Rue, 7'6".
How are they catching these guys?
I don't know.
Yeah. How do you get them down there?
I still don't know how they caught Zach Edey.
7-footer Island. We have a whole enterprise we're running.
Yeah, y'all have nothing. Y'all have nothing. Y'all are guests on my island.
We'll pick you up.
Yeah.
Blaine cleans up after
Enterprise rented John.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's a Squid Game situation.
Blaine cleans up after him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna wake up. Does this smell like chloroform?
A little. Taylor's in Iowa, and I want to hear what he has to say. What's up, Taylor?
Y'all gonna score more than 10 points or what?
No.
I don't know.
A win's a win, 9-2, baby.
Yeah. He's like, I never said we were going to play great on offense.
Yo,
you're an Iowa State fan. Okay.
How dare you, Jake?
I'm sorry. My bad. Did you scream at Matt Campbell or what?
No, I was not at that game in Ohio. I was screaming at the TV because we kept running the ball into Texas's offensive line, and I like the hotel reference yesterday, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's the craziest part about it is, and this is why I'm worried a little bit about Texas against Texas Tech. They made Beck look like Phillip Rivers in that game against Iowa State. Look, Iowa State, it's kind of back and forth, but I tell you what, man, Ames is a cool place. Ames actually is a pretty cool place. I enjoyed it when I haven't been up there.
Yeah. I have yet to go to an actual football game. I've been to a basketball game, but yeah, I would love to go see a game. I honestly would love to go see Iowa State when they go play BYU in 26. Kind of almost not a bucket list, just because I've heard how beautiful it is out there.
Yeah, I have a buddy who lived out in Utah for a little bit, talking about going to Provo. He lived in Salt Lake, but went to Provo. Said it was incredible. Said you need to go see it. Said it's a beautiful state.
Yes. Oh, and I'd like to claim my call sign.
Yes, do it.
Since I am a trucker and my trucker handle is Barney, I'm going to claim it.
All right, let's go, Barney.
Hey, it's yours. We're writing it down. We're writing it down in the control room. Also, I want to make this known. This Iowa State-Kansas State game may have one of the greatest names of a rivalry of all time.
What is
it?
What? Tell them.
Armageddon, baby.
Farmageddon between Iowa State and Kansas State.
I love that, dude.
It's fantastic.
When I saw that it was gonna get canceled in like 27 or something, and it's one of the longest consecutive running rivalries in the country
since 1917.
That's insane. Here I sit.
That's exactly
I know
right.
something about college football rivalries, and I never knew about Farmageddon.
Farmageddon, baby.
What a great name.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. So it's like there's some sneaky rivalry games. It's like earlier in the year when Miami, Ohio played Miami out of Florida, the Confusion Bowl.
I'm telling you, it's awesome. That's
There's so
why I
many
wanted to give that
sneaky
speech,
ones like
college
that.
Football is just
but great call, man. Call
Appreciate
it
it,
again,
Taylor.
Barney.
All right, let's get to Scott. Hey, Scott in Oregon. We got 20 seconds here, brother. How you doing?
Hey, good morning, guys, and happy Thanksgiving to you and your families.
Hey, same here, brother.
I got a quick scenario for you on the college football playoff.
Go ahead.
So let's say Florida State and Texas are out, they lose, or something happens, but they're gone.
Both of them are out. Both of them are out. Florida State and Texas are out. Okay.
Alabama beats Georgia by a touchdown or more. Oregon comes back and beats Washington. And then Ohio State and Michigan, doesn't matter who wins as long as it's by a field goal. Do you think with that scenario, they would leave the Pac-12 schools out of the playoffs since the conference is no longer in existence?
Okay. So Florida State and Texas are out. You said Alabama beats Georgia? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
By a touchdown.
Alabama beats Georgia by a touchdown.
Oregon beats Washington.
I think
it's the Big Ten champ. It's the Big Ten champ. It's Alabama with one loss. It's Oregon, and then Georgia sneaks in.
Yeah,
that's
right.
It is. That's what it is. And that's a good scenario because we hadn't really talked about that one.
Yeah. Which could happen. That's a scenario that could legitimately happen.
Yeah.
I mean, the Alabama-Georgia game is a 3-point spread, right? It's a three.
It moved to 4, but yeah,
it
started at 3.
Hell, that game's played in Atlanta. It's a great question, Scott. What do you think? Hey, Scott, do you think Georgia should be in that scenario?
Yeah. I mean, Georgia's been the top team almost all year, and I just don't know about the conference championships. Alabama is playing better. I'm from Oregon, obviously, so I'd like to see a Pac-12 team in there for their last year since I no longer have a conference to cheer for. But I can see them leaving Oregon and Washington out if Oregon beats Washington. So I almost have to cheer for Washington to beat Oregon just to see a Pac-12 school in there for the final year.
Man,
who would get in other than them though? Who would you put in? I mean, if Texas loses another, it'd be FSU.
If they're undefeated, if they're undefeated and they get a situation where they want to get Texas and Alabama in there and they flip them ahead of the one-loss Oregon team, I see what he's saying. In that scenario that you mentioned, though, Scott, if let's just say it would be Michigan winning the Big Ten, that would put them as the 1 seed because they would be the highest of the teams we're talking about right now that hasn't lost. Georgia sneaking in at the 4 would mean a Michigan-Georgia first-round matchup.
Of course.
It's like, can we not even play them in the championship? For
we go through this whole year of parody. We're at the end, we're like, this could happen, and the first round, Georgia versus Michigan. Congratulations, guys. Here you go once again. But, Scott, great call, man. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Scotty doesn't know. But
all right, fellas. I'm going to get to the chat really quick, Blaine, and then we're going to get to bets. The marker was out this morning, so I'm going to stay here.
All right, let's go to Anthony Long with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, Ant. It says, Hugh Freeze owes his team an apology. His talent gap message backfired on him, and his team thought the talent gap would win them the New Mexico State game.
No, look, I can promise you, and I need you to trust me on this. All week, it was hammered into the Auburn players' heads that this New Mexico State team was a quality team. I can promise you, man to man, that it was. You go out and watch, and look, it's on everybody. It's always on the head coach when you lose, regardless of what you say. You're the head coach. The buck stops with you. This was on everyone. This was on the players. This was on the coaches. This is on everybody that's involved with what goes on game day. Not the fans. I thought the fans were fine. You can't blame the fans. That's one of the weakest things you can possibly do. But I think it's equal between the players and Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is bringing in the talent. Like look at recruiting right now, and we'll see the way they finish. But he's bringing in the talent. There's been a lot of great coaches that look like idiots because the players weren't good enough. There's been a lot of dumb coaches that look like geniuses because the players were good enough. What you want is the best of both worlds. Great coaching and great players. That's how you get Georgia.
Let's go to Motorman 213 with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, brother. It says, David, my daughter levels up to 3 next week. She's also undefeated against that team. I just put an O, but I'm guessing he's saying Ohio State. Yep. JJ has me nervous. Any chance for a little pep talk for us? Worried about my Michigan boys.
Look, play the one I did today on repeat, man. I'm going to be putting that out on social media. Happy level up to your 3-year-old daughter. My son also has never seen Michigan lose to that team, so maybe we keep it that way.
What a great I think Ohio State fans should blame him. Huh? That's what I think. Well, in reality, should blame you. You did it.
Let's go to Luke Bayard with a $10 donation. Jake, we're ready to put the Jaden Daniels slander to rest, and we couldn't think of someone better than put that shite to rest. Go off on him, King.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, in my opinion, we're not talking about a 5-7 LSU team. We've seen guys win the Heisman with 4 losses, like Barry Sanders, I believe. We've seen him win it with 3 losses before. To me, Jaden Daniels' numbers are so stupid that you have to give him the Heisman Trophy. He is the best player in the country in college football. When it comes to throwing and the mix of throwing and running, Jaden Daniels is elite. And guess what? He's done it against everyone. Even his quote-unquote bad game against Florida State, go look at those numbers. This man was torching Bama. The defense doesn't matter. In my opinion, you want to know how good Jaden Daniels is? Alabama changed their style of offense for the LSU game for the first time all year because they knew Jaden Daniels was about to cook them. Again, we can live in this world of Bo Nix's a hell of a player, and I think Bo Nix should finish second in the Heisman. I really do believe that. But to look at Jaden Daniels and to look at those numbers and the eye test and see him in the SEC and do this against everybody, including Florida State, and sit here and say, oh, well, this man shouldn't get the Heisman because they got 3 losses. Where was that energy with Caleb Williams? And I know they lost in the bowl game, but he already had 2. They didn't make the playoff. Last time I checked. Where was that energy for Barry Sanders or RG3 or Lamar Jackson or any of that? I didn't hear any of this then. Look, at the end of the day, to me, Jaden Daniels is the most valuable player, the most outstanding player in college football, and they've got a chance to finish, 9-3?
Yeah, they have a chance to finish 9-3, and against Florida State, he had 346 yards passing, 64 yards rushing. He threw 1 touchdown and 1 pick. So that's in the game you lost in the opener.
Yeah, go look at this man's numbers. Women lie, men lie, numbers
in the loss at
lie.
Ole Miss, 414, 4 touchdowns, no picks, 99 yards rushing. And then against Alabama, the game he got knocked out, he still had 219, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 163 on the ground before he left the game.
In my opinion, if you don't think Jaden Daniels should win the Heisman, you're either blind or biased. Those are the two.
You think Jaden's going to win the Heisman?
I think he should win the Heisman.
You think he's going to?
I got to see what Bo Nix does in the Washington game because I know how the voters are. There's a lot of recency bias in this award.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to Freeway Jared with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, brother. He says that game got spicy last night. I don't know what game he's talking about.
Yeah, he's talking about the...
he did that energy before rivalry.
The Marquette, Kansas.
Oh, Marquette.
Who ended up winning that game?
Marquette.
Marquette.
By 14.
I had a buddy lose a 15-leg parlay on that game.
God!
15-legger?
That's tough.
Let's go to Will Hyatt with a $5 donation. Appreciate it, Will. I started an NCAA 11 dynasty with Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Nice.
Why? Because I want a challenge and I have expectations. You tell them, Will. Have a good Thanksgiving, boys. Love the show and go Blue. Appreciate it,
Go
man.
Blue, Will.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to these bets. You guys know our Booster Club bets are brought to you by DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, because new customers can bet $5 on the NFL Thanksgiving action to score $150 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. With code BOOSTER, the crown is yours. Like I said, the marker was on the fritz this morning. We got new 2023 ones that are coming in. But here's what I got, boys. We're going college basketball tonight. First time in 50 days there's no college football or football on in general. We can cry about it together, but there's some good matchups tonight. So I'm going to go a little parlay. College basketball for one of my bets. Give me Arkansas money line, North Carolina money line, Iona money line, and Sam Houston money line. That's at plus 112. And then give me the North Carolina, Northern Iowa over 149. That's at minus 110. So Ben, Cody, y'all heard me, a little parlay, little over in college basketball. Let's get it. What a great slate. We got Egg Bowl tomorrow and then and Palooza of college football on Friday.
I love it. Kansas, Tennessee facing off with each other, both 4-1. I'm going to take Kansas money line in this game. That's minus 115. And then, like we said, Marquette with the big win over Kansas yesterday. I'm going to take Marquette plus 3.5 against Purdue. That's an undefeated matchup. Both 5-0 right now.
I love early season college basketball is awesome.
All right, give me UNC. Look, I haven't watched a lot of college basketball this year. I'm going to be honest, so that means both these bets will hit. Give me UNC minus 11.5. They're going against Northern Iowa.
Points.
Then I'm going to under 155.5 Arkansas Stanford.
So Baby Cone's on that one too. Baby Cone's going to take Arkansas minus 7, he said.
Love that.
And then UCLA plus 4.5 against Gonzaga.
Ace money. Ace money. Stay hot,
that.
kid. Poll. Who covers Saturday? Auburn plus 14.5. Alabama minus 14.5.
I think they said Alabama 55%.
That's what you think? Auburn 55%.
I love where your head's at, David. Wish the Booster Club felt the same. Alabama minus 14.5, 63%. Auburn plus 14.5, 37%.
It's a trap!
If you bet yes on this, you're dead to me.
It's a trap. Appreciate you guys. We have a show coming out tomorrow. We're going to do our Pick'em show on Friday. It's going to cover Friday's games and Saturday's games with our guest picker. Make sure you go buy that hoodie. Make sure you subscribe. We really appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Everybody be safe out there. Thanks to our sponsors. Thanks for letting us have this job. We absolutely love it. We appreciate you guys. And everybody calling from Honolulu to Orlando. We love you guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. And just like my plate, come tomorrow about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All the food is going. Gone.